is love. Love in this place. Whenever two or more of us gathered in His name, I thought the world is all the same.
Good evening. Welcome to another Level Up Your Marriage with Paul and Raquel Blake out of Jamaica. We are happy to be here with you tonight again to discuss all things marriage. We ask you that wherever you are joining us from, whether in the United States or somewhere in the Caribbean or even Africa, that you engage with us tonight. If you have a question, that you will type it in the chat or even send us an email at levelupyourmarriagecoc@gmail.com. Tonight we will be continuing the discussion that we began 2 weeks ago on stress and burnout in marriage. And we really had a very good discussion the last time, and we're looking forward to having even another healthier discussion on the subject of avoiding stress and burnout in marriage and even the effects that it can have on our relationships. So join us as we embark on this discussion. Raquel, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to everyone. It's great to be here again. So, as I heard Paul speak about, avoiding and stress and burnout in marriage, and, I guess the idea is that we want to share tips and techniques in terms of how to protect the marriage from stress and burnout, because really stress is unavoidable. Stress is inevitable. But the idea is that we have to find ways to cope. We have to find ways to minimize our stress level. Because, one author says the only person without stress is dead, right?
Yes,
You
right.
know, so so it means that we have to encounter stress from time to time. And the last time we spoke about the fact that there's good stress and that there's bad stress. And so we want to continue the conversation in terms of how we minimize, how we cope with the stressful situation that we might find ourselves in as a result of work that may up into the marriage, and also just the general stress of life, because all of life we will encounter stress. And so we want to look at some of the signs and, in burnout, and how we can in marriage help each other to cope.
Yes, and as we had discussed the last time, that we live in a very fast-paced world. Life is just
Life in.
life in, and sometimes seems like a runaway train. And our work, our family, our personal stress often lead to um, feeling a sense of that you have reached your limit, and this in turn can have a negative effect on our relationships with our spouses. And so we looked at how we should recognize some of the signs, especially of burnout. And we spoke about emotional exhaustion, that your spouse constantly complains of feeling drained or being irritable, especially at even after having a full night's rest.
Yeah.
Loss of enthusiasm at work or personal interest that you have. We have some hobbies that we just do have the tip of our fingers, and sometimes when persons are going through burnout, the things that they usually enjoy sometimes even become like a burden to them. And so that's another sign. Increased isolation, Raquel, is another one of them. And especially when we have persons who are naturally, I would, well, not necessarily naturally, but sociably enough, outgoing and don't mind being around people, don't mind enjoying having a good time. And you find that these persons are withdrawing, or even you as an individual, you are withdrawing from the things that you would normally like to do. It is also a sign of burnout. And the last one was the physical symptoms, and these tend to manifest themselves more than even the others because they are easy to recognize.
Like
So,
headaches,
so the headaches, the digestive issues, the frequent illnesses. We know when stress is, stress that leads to burnout will cause a lot of persons to be physically sick very often. And I know one of the signs that is regularly seen. Persons catch a common cold very regular. So
sick last week.
Last week they were
You're
sick,
recovering
and
this week, and
this
then
week
you're sick at the end
they
of
are
the
sick
week.
again, and that's a sign that the body is under stress and needs some kind of recuperation. So we want persons to be able to recognize some of these things. Again, I think one of the dangerous things, especially about stress that can lead to us burning out, is that oftentimes we can go on for a very long time.
Without realizing.
Yeah, and a lot of people will narrow it down to working well under pressure. And that is not necessarily true, because I think one of the things that we can point to is that if we continue doing this for too long, there is a price to be paid, because the body is going to break down at some point in time.
Yes.
The mind is going to begin to unravel at some point in time. I remember having a discussion just a few weeks ago with a colleague of mine who was under tremendous stress, and she related to me that she just went into her car one morning and she was just sitting there staring at the steering wheel, wondering what to do next.
That's what
It's like before your car wasn't started or anything. She said that she just went into the car, sat down, and she had the keys in her hand, and she just sat down, and for about a good 10 seconds she was wondering, what do I do next, not realizing that she had the keys in her hand, and all that she needed to do was push it into the ignition and start the car. And I said to her that that is a sign that you are under stress and you need some rest. And so we need to recognize these things and don't just narrow it down to working well under pressure, right? And we talked about offering support, which is very, very important.
Yeah, like you did to her, she shared it.
Yes.
You gave her some insight.
And well, lucky enough, she had somebody near to recognize what she was going through, because somebody else might have given her some advice that might not have been very helpful. And so I think one of the things, Raquel, and I want us to spend a lot of time on this particular one as we begin the discussion, the importance of self-care.
Yes.
Um, we can have an entire discussion on this particular thing, of self-care, this element of self-care. And I don't think we do that very well. It is a popular concept these days. A lot of persons are talking about taking care of self and all of that. But do we do it very well? Do you think we do self-care very well?
Well, not well. I think more persons are trying now.
Try.
As
Well,
a result
true.
of COVID and all of that new insight and direction, I think persons are catching on to it. Organizations are also pushing it for their employees, and of course, we talk about the fact that couples are understanding and appreciating the value of spending time together. So while I'm taking care of myself and you're taking care of you, then we are better. We make better company to each other when
Yeah,
we're
true.
when we're
I
taking care of
agree. I
ourselves.
agree. So and we if you are on social media and if you are a person who follows celebrities and all of that, you will hear these persons mentioning from time to time that they're going to take care of their mental health. It's one of the things that is just around. But I also want to impress upon persons that taking care of one's mental health is not for just for the rich and famous. Right? Taking care of our mental health is really an individual responsibility that we have to ourselves. And the truth is, if both of us in the relationship, in the marriage, are not our best selves mentally, then it is going to cause a strain on the relationship.
Definitely.
Right? If we are not able to look at to recognize that we need to take care of our mental space, how we think, have our emotions under control, then it can lead to having relationship issues.
Definitely. And then as you talk about, the mental part of it is that you don't have good health without it being holistic. So you have to take care of the mental, the physical, and the emotional. So to take care of the whole person. So the self care aspect we are talking about, uh, it includes the mental, but it
True.
also includes the physical. It includes the emotional. It includes every aspect of your life. So it's so while we are talking about self care, where it's important to find ways to take breaks, where it's important to to just stay still for a little bit, enjoy silence.
Mm-hmm.
Also taking time to be alone, to listen to some music or to meditate, to go in prayer. And the idea is that, and also to do things together as a couple.
True. I
Make time
agree.
for a weekend getaway. You see, I think one of the things too, as we talk about self care, is that self care is becomes easier when we agree to be each other's accountability partner.
Yes, true. I agree.
When I give you
Mhm.
permission to check in with me, and to
Mhm.
be a part of my life, and you give me permission to say, it's okay to check in with me if you notice something, that we can have honest conversation about what we have noticed, what we are seeing in each other, so that we can be of help to each other. That is also part of self care, because it's you helping me and I helping you, and it's also ultimately helping the relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
I do agree. I think the idea of holding each other accountable is important. And it is a way of guarding from burning out yourself when you have, because here's one of the things that we often realize, and we are not very good at holding ourselves accountable, right? And unfortunately, Raquel, I find it more prevalent, especially in women, especially housewives, who, because of the fact that they are in the home space and the husband and children go out on a daily basis, and she is at home taking care of the home, it is easy for her to just go on and on and on and on and on and on, like the Energizer Bunny. And even when the children and the husband comes home, she's still going on. And eventually that can not only the physical burnout, but it can lead to us an emotional burnout, where you just reach a point where you have nothing more to give because you have just given all of yourself. And so this idea of holding each other accountable is very important.
Yes, and I would like to balance that or put another perspective on it, in the sense that, for housewives, or mothers or wives who decide to stay home, that when the husband or children come home, that they now should be a part of the process, that says, okay, have a seat, we'll share dinner, or
Hmm.
we will support you as we were out at school or at work, and now we're home. You know, we'll wash up the dishes, we'll tidy up the kitchen, or we will do
Yeah,
our part,
I
so that
agree.
you
Yes,
can you
true.
can you can have a break.
What,
elevate your feet.
what would you
Have some tea.
say to the husbands who think that work is a 24-hour activity? Where we know that you have husbands who, and because again the biblical foundation that the man is the provider and protector, and he is the one that has the responsibility, the God-given responsibility to be out there working. You have husbands who are of the belief that they must always be working.
Well, that's how on the one hand, I guess we'll have to bring it back to reality, because in turn, most jobs are 9 to 5, which means that there's a specified time, and at the end of that time, there must be some. And even during the 9 to 5, many companies, or most companies, then you have a 15 minute. There might be a coffee break. You might have a 1 hour lunchtime. So even in your 9 to 5, if there are built-in breaks. So we spoke about earlier about the husband, the wife being the accountability partner for the husband, and the husband being a. So this is now where the accountability partner would come in. Where if you are of that view, for instance, then I would have to knock you in the head and say, "Come on, honey, that's not how it goes." We have to. Yes, I appreciate that you're working, that you're taking care of the family. But even the Lord rested.
Yes.
He worked.
Yeah,
And he rested.
I agree.
And the
I agree.
principle is right there in the scripture.
So
that is important to work, but it's also important to rest.
So it moves us now, Raquel, to the next thing that I want to bring up, the importance of recharging.
Yes, definitely.
That
Segue.
recharging is important, and I look at the world of work itself, and I'm going to bring the concept into our relationships. In most jobs, especially jobs that have very high intensity, there is what you call a sabbatical period, right? And you find that a lot in like universities and so forth.
True.
That they don't allow lectures, especially if you lecture in some very high intensity courses. They don't allow you to lecture for very long before you go on a sabbatical, right? And sometimes a sabbatical can last up to a year, sometimes 2 years, or even beyond that, right? And usually that is done so that you can, it's basically to recharge your battery, right? And this is when you find a lot of lecturers use it to write their books and do other
Family
stuff,
vacations
that they
and
go
so
on the family vacation and all of that. So even in marriage, in the marital relationship, again, we spoke about at the beginning that life is life, right? We have the daily challenges of just surviving, the daily challenges of working, the daily challenges of looking after the children, especially if you have more than one, and even if you have one, and so at times I think that there is a need for us to step back and recharge or repurpose.
Yes. Exactly. And so I agree with you. And just to add to the point too, in the same way, like you talk about, so the professors and the lecturers, they take a sabbatical. Couples should also plan, whether once. That's why we talk about late night.
Mm-hmm.
Probably monthly or every 2 weeks or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Every quarter now, couples should make time to say, okay, we are pulling back.
Yes.
We're pulling back. Might not be a long 3 weeks vacation, but we're saying over 2 days, a long weekend, we're gonna make some time to unwind. We're gonna make some time for self care. We're gonna make some time for couples time, so we can recharge and re-energize.
And I think it works. It works in terms of it must be. I think I honestly believe that it must be done as a couple, but I also think that there is space for individual recharging.
Of course.
One of the things that I will tell couples when we are preparing them for marriage is that the fact that you are together and two of you have become one doesn't mean that you join at the hip, right? And so,
You have a permission to do something by
I
yourself.
think it is very, very important that we maintain a level of individuality in our relationships. And so it shouldn't be a problem if the wife goes out with her girlfriends, or when the husband goes out and hang out with the boys. That shouldn't be something that causes a strain on the relationship. I think it is something that should be discussed, because I honestly believe that it helps in not necessarily getting rid of stress, but it lessens it, and it also helps to, because again, when we talk about burnout, most time we use the word burnout. We usually refer to work, right? But if we are not careful, we can be burnt out from even our own relationship. And this is something that we often find very uncomfortable to talk about. But in truth, just think of the fact that you are spending time with this person, and it's not that you don't love the person, but just imagine that you are in the same space with this person more, a lot of time. If both of you are not taking care of yourselves and growing, learning how to grow and discover, then you can suffer burnout from even your own relationship.
Well, I guess that's possible too, but so that's the idea, that's the why we're having this
Right.
program where we're saying it's important to have the conversations with each other as a couple about these things, and it's also important to encourage individuality. It's important to encourage individual self-care, because what might be self-care for me
Might
might
not
not
be.
be
Yes,
self-care for
true,
you. So it's
true.
okay that I just want to put it out there that self-care is not only about going to the spa to get your nails done and
Yes,
your
that's
manicure
true.
done
That's
and so
true.
on. It encompasses a number of things, much more deeper and wider than just that.
Give it. You want me to give you an example?
Yes.
Um, you know that I like to read. Reading is one of my favorite pastime.
Yes.
And I just realized the other day that I have not read a full book in a long, long time. And I think for me, reading is a self care
for
tool
you.
for me.
Yeah.
And and I'm speaking about books different from, cause we have a lot of books
Not the
in our
self-care,
in
but you're
our
talking about
practice.
your
And because I preach and teach, I have a lot of biblical books and theological books, but I have not read a book. That I like fantasies and all of that. I've not read one of those books in how long.
well.
And I just realized that I am missing that kind of thing. Just to pick up a book. Yeah, in the earlier part of our marriage, when I got a book, I would sit and read a book from morning until it is finished, no matter what time of the day it is done. And so that for me is self-care. So I'm glad they brought up the whole thing that self-care is not just about going to the spa and the regular things that we think it is. But self-care can be just about anything that brings us fulfillment, that brings us enjoyment, that brings us a sense of calm
Bring you to a pause.
just yes, I like that. I like that. That brings it to a pause.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is important.
And it's
Yeah,
important, and it's important for just like you're saying, it's important for you to know for yourself, but it's also good for the wife to be aware of it.
yes.
So for us to be aware of each other's self-care, most
So
effective
we should be
self-care.
able to tell.
So we can say, I noticed you have or to
yes.
make it a surprise. I could go and buy a book for you.
I think that
You can-
part of protecting ourselves from stress and burnout, in terms of our responsibility to each other, is that we must be able to recognize when our spouses need to slow down.
Yes. But it's one thing to recognize it in the spouse, but it's another thing to share it, and there's another thing
to make it happen.
to make it happen, to respond and make it happen. So it takes a number of things, or it takes a number of factors to bring it all together. So it's important. And like I was saying now, that if I, like you're saying, or you haven't read one of your fantasy books, or you might have, or there are new ones that you haven't read yet. So I could, part of one of the lessons, as we're listening attentively, as couples listen attentively to their spouse, it could be a surprise.
Yeah,
It could
true.
be a
I
nice
agree.
gift.
Yes.
It could be a nice setup on one of those weekend getaways. It could be all a part of the
Yeah,
package of
I agree.
having a book,
That's right.
or like
Very much so.
you
Very
know.
much so.
So the idea is that is also putting interest and mystery and excitement into the process of slowing down and
Yeah,
making time for each
I
other.
agree. And it brings us now to again in terms of look at it in very practical ways. One of the ways that we can help our spouses is help them with small tasks and so forth, lighten their load, and especially when it comes to husbands, learn to wash, cook, and clean. Learn how to take care of the children,
Yes.
right? Learn how to do
To make my favorite cup
household.
of tea.
Yes, learn how to make a cup of tea. Learn how to, because again, as much as you will enjoy taking care of your family, you don't want it to become a burden where it becomes something that, boy, uh, you do it just because you're expected to do it, but there is no enjoyment in doing it, and it just become a task that you are just hoping to get through, right? And so we need to especially tell our husbands who are on the platform, that don't allow your wife, your spouse, to shoulder all of the responsibility of taking care of the house. Right? It can lead to stress and burnout. And the other thing is also being in touch with our own emotions.
True.
I think that's a very important thing. It is important for us to be honest with ourselves. Checking on our, we spoke about checking in on each other. We must check in on ourselves.
Definitely.
Yeah, we must check in on ourselves. Jesus says, self-care is so important. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family. And that is so
That's true.
important, Sister Giselle, that if you don't take care of self, right, you can't take care of family. I have seen, Raquel, where and again we keep referring to housewives, where when mommy is sick, it's like the whole world stops. when the wife is sick, and the husband and the children don't know how to function, nothing gets done until mommy recovers. And it shouldn't be so.
Yes,
It shouldn't be so.
exactly. But that, no, as soon as she recovers, no, that's another spiral
Yeah,
continues,
yeah,
because
exactly.
in another few months she's down again.
She's down again. And so that's something that needs to. Jesus say, yes, true. Time has stopped, and it shouldn't be that. But I think it is important for us to grow in our relationships, that when especially when these things happen, that the house is still able to function as a well-oiled machine, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
checking in with our emotions is important. And this is something that you always say, is that we must communicate our needs,
Yes.
right? Our spouses are not mind readers, right? We would love them to be, but our spouses are not mind readers, and they don't, most of the times they don't know what is on our minds. They don't know what we are thinking. They don't know what we need. And even if they do, sometimes it is important to still voice it,
That's right.
right? Don't assume, right? Just verbalize. If you are in need of some time to get away, verbalize it. If you are in need of some time to rest, verbalize it. If you are in need of some just anything,
Just verbalize it.
be able to verbalize it.
Right. And I was reading something recently, and it says, it was making a point that spouses should invite each other to for open conversation. And I found it interesting that they use the word invite, because if I'm inviting you're
Yeah.
my friend, I invite you to
In,
dinner,
yeah,
or
invite for
invite.
open. Yes.
So the idea is that that the idea is that it's something that you're looking for.
Yes.
It's something that you're doing gladly. So when they use a word that the spouse should invite each other for open conversation, or for to be at each other's accountability. I want to invite you into my life and into my space,
Yeah.
because you have couples whose life is a secret to the other spouse.
Yes.
And that might be part of the stress too.
I am finding that in today's kind of society, that it is becoming more and more prevalent, where people think that they have to just guard that side of them, and the truth is, you really can't, you can't function in a nurturing, healthy relationship without being open. And that is important. Somebody is this is accessories by Pat says,
This is adding to the point.
husband is at a loss.
Won't have a clue.
Don't have a clue. And that is true. That is true. And so let us segue now, Raquel. Creating the boundaries in to protect against being overwhelmed. And I like number one.
Like number one.
Yes.
Designate unplugged time. Because with all of the gadgets, including the TV and the tablet and the phone and the what else.
But I want to take it a bit further, because and I kind of know that is where you're going to start.
No, can I say?
But
okay.
No, I think that you have to unplug from life itself.
How are you gonna do that?
The gadgets and so forth are just a part of the whole issue. But sometimes you have to unplug from life itself. You ask me what I mean by that. Let me give you an example. For somebody like me who works in the church, and you know that I'm not in full-time ministry anymore. But one of the things that I find with ministers is that ministers can't unplug from life.
Okay, I see what you mean.
So everywhere they go, they are plugged into other people's needs.
Okay, so I mean, okay, I get what you're saying.
Right?
So
they don't know
take
how.
time for themselves
Yes,
and their families.
they don't know how to separate themselves from daily life.
From the work.
And a lot of times it is their family that suffers.
True.
Right? We have ministers who allow people to call them at all ungodly hours of the night. That can be a problem.
Right, but yeah, it can. That's definitely
People who are just always demanding that
Demanding.
the minister gives more and more and more of his time, and sometimes you wonder then, if you are giving so much of yourself, what do you give to your family?
Exactly.
So unplugging from life is important. As counselors, unplugged time. And as counselors, we also understand that, because we can't carry home our cases.
Well, that's something that I would want to encourage you on a regular, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you determine, okay, work the 9 to 5 job, or whatever your hours of work. So when it's, or even the situation where persons, you might have a time where you work from home. So when it's work from home time, when it's 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, at the end of that time, have some kind of routine that says, okay, work is finished now, and whether you shut down and close it up, or put it in the bag, or do something that says, my work day has ended, so I'm now into with my family, and so on. So I would recommend that it's something that is done every day. And that's why families, couples making time for each other um, every day, in the sense that I think some time ago we spoke about taking time for small conversation, taking time to play with the children, taking time to as you go out and look at the rabbits, or go into your garden, look at your pets. The idea is that even to guard that space, that time, whether 15 minutes or half an hour, to unwind from every day, because every day, each day is what we have. We're not promised tomorrow.
Yes.
So each day that you're blessed with that day, work, worship, but also make a few
Yeah,
minutes to unwind.
one of the things that I encourage persons to do is that I think every day, at the end of every day, whatever the end of your day looks like, I think that it is necessary that you take 15 minutes to do nothing at all. Even to just sit in a dark room, lock off the lights and everything, and just
That is a part of the process.
get in tune with your mind.
Mhm.
I think that is very, very important. It is. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it's refreshing
Right,
to be able to just sit in a space for a little bit, and just hear life around you.
right.
I think that is
So that
important.
is part of the unplugged time,
The
because
unplugged time.
so that's why it says designate unplugged time. So the included in unplugged time. That's a tongue twister, right? Including the unplugged time is where you embrace silence, embrace the pause, embrace something
The
that
phone, put
that
away the
says,
phone, the
this is
TV,
my little time
the laptop.
to meditate, or to, because
Yeah,
I tell you that I love the sound of silence, right?
yeah.
But some persons can't take that sound. But even like you say, even 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and the silence can be different things for different
Yeah,
persons. In the
true.
sense that it can be where you're just thinking about two things that I'm grateful for. What kind of day I had today? You know, how am I different? How am I better? So
Find
find
out
out
what
those
works for
things.
you. Find
Exactly.
out what works for you.
Exactly.
And we talk about maintaining balance, Raquel, especially because we know one of the primary things that will lead to burnout and stress is our jobs, and we have to work. For the most part, when we were not born rich, we were not born with a trust fund, so most of us will have to work. But we shouldn't allow work to dictate our entire lives. We shouldn't allow work to impede on our relationships. We shouldn't allow work to disrupt our family life, right? And a lot of time we always talk about the importance of spending time with our children, but also sometimes more important than spending time with the children is that you have to spend time with your spouse, right? Children have their own time, and I think for the most part, many of us don't have a problem giving our time to children,
True.
right? But the challenge comes in giving our time to our spouses, right? And especially couples who have young families,
Yes.
young children, where yeah, I remember. I don't know if you remember when when we just got married, and after Tim was born, somebody told us that no, your names have now become mommy and daddy. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
you're not near Raquel again, or Paul. No, you are mommy and daddy, and that is so true. That is so true, right? For a good number of years, when those children are born, you
You
don't
have no
have
name.
no name, right? Mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it is important for us to invest our time with our children and all of that. But we must not ever forget that we also need to have that balance in our relationship with our spouses. So give them time.
Yeah, and of course, definitely, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And the idea is that we're also sending a message to our children. How much do we value our marriage?
Yes.
Because some teenagers tease their parents that, mommy and daddy going on a date.
Yes.
And so it sends a good message to them
Yes.
that children are important, but my spouse is important too. And then, of course, as most people say, the children are going to grow up and leave. And so when they have grown and gone, what's up? What's happened between husband and wife?
What is left behind?
Yeah, what is left behind? So as we are raising our children, we're also needing to making time to enrich our own marriage.
I don't know if we have discussed it once. We might have mentioned it in one of our discussions before, that it I mean, the research is out there that a lot of divorces take place when children leave home. And when the children go off to college and all of that, when they get married and move on and have their own families, that is when a lot of divorces take place. And the reason why is that when we were invested in raising these children, we gave our time to the children. And a lot of persons don't take the time in when they are raising children to have that necessary interaction and growth in their relationship. And so when the children grow up and move out, you have two strangers left in the house.
Yes. And so we definitely want to give persons that warning
Right.
to spend
So
time.
so it means, yes, you have to spend time investing in your relationship every
Yes.
day,
Yes.
because those children are going to grow up and they are going to leave eventually. Hopefully they will leave. but you have to invest in your relationship and guard your relationship, so that when this happens, you don't end up having two strangers in the house. All right. Um, one of the things, Raquel, that that is, in terms of stress and burnout, is, I don't know if you have ever had this experience with couples who are just so detached from life, especially after being married for a while. There's an obvious detachment, or sometimes cynicism. Have you ever come across somebody who has been married for a long time and hear what they talk about marriage?
Yeah,
And you hope that nobody who wants to marry never come across them. Because
So that's an obvious sign that they weren't paying attention to the signs.
exactly.
They weren't paying
Right?
attention to the signs,
Yes.
because we have to. I was saying to you some days ago that God in His wisdom, He gives us sign for everything.
Yes, true.
He gives us warning signs for everything, so that you can notice that, okay, we're talking about the fact that like with the cooking gas, when it's almost on the end of at the verge of finishing, there's some warning
There's
signs.
some warning that
So
is
in
there.
similar way, in your marriage, in your personal life, in your life as a couple, there are warning signs.
Mhm.
And when we notice the warning signs, then we can do things about it
Yes.
to prevent the detachment and the cynicism that you spoke about, where
Mhm.
sometimes couples who are married for such a long time um, begin to feel so detached. And so, how do we try to help them?
Yeah.
What kind of how do now that we are talking about the warning signs, and rather than waiting until the warning sign has now moved to what, an alarm, there's help. Help
Yeah.
is available.
Uh,
Jump
professional
in,
help.
jump in in terms of
Professional help is
how
is is important. Again, this is where counseling is a very effective tool, and we know that many relationships have been saved through counseling. We know that a lot of people don't believe in relationship counseling. A lot of people frown upon on relationship counseling and think that they don't need it. But I can tell you, and you can always find the research that is there, that counseling helps relationships. Counseling has saved many marriages. And
definitely.
so if you realize that your relationship is in problems, especially relating to stress and burnout, then it's important that you seek professional help, right? If I mean, if both of you could do it by yourself, then I mean, you would be all right.
Right, and then also if you notice that your spouse is not, if the stress level is affecting the individual's functionality
Hmm.
in terms of how well they're able to take care of their daily tasks, that's also another warning sign that
Yes.
if both persons are not affected. But I can say to the husband, um, let's go get some help. If I don't know the strategies to tips or to help to effectively give you some remedy,
Mm-hmm.
then let us get some professional help. So sometimes it might be both persons, and other times it might be one individual. But because we just like we talk about the fact accountability, where noticing, I'm seeing the warning signs in you. I'm sharing the work that I'm seeing the warning signs. And if you know, in your own effort or as a couple, we're trying to, to remedy the situation and it's not working, then it's okay to
That's
seek
right.
help.
And
It is necessary
I
to seek
also
help.
I would also take this time, Raquel, to say, especially to our men who are on the platform, our brothers, that seeking counseling, professional help is not a sign of weakness.
It's actually
Because
it's a very
many,
courageous move.
yes,
It's a
many
very
men
courageous move.
are have an aversion towards seeking professional help, where they think that because they get a third party involved in helping to navigate the relationship, that somehow they lack something, right? And I would have also said on one of our previous programs that in my experience, that many times when I see many in counseling for marriage is when the relationship is over, right? When the relationship cannot be salvaged anymore, and that is when the husbands turn up. Where if you had turned up before that, you would have actually saved your relationship.
Exactly.
So I want to encourage our men, especially, that getting somebody, a professional who has a third eye that you don't have, is not a sign of weakness. It is something that can help to save your relationship. So professional help is important. Certified marriage counselors, your ministers. A lot of ministers are trained in marriage and relationship counseling. So get these people involved.
If you're married, if you're a minister or you're somebody that you're familiar with, if you are if you're not sure that you want to go to them, they can make
They
referrals.
can
They
they
can give
can
you some
they
good
can make
insight.
referrals,
And
right?
also you talk about the men who might, but might also be a little timid, and don't want to share their problems with the
Mm-hmm.
external party. But just in a similar way that if you have a toothache, you're not gonna endure that pain. You're gonna head for the dentist.
Yes.
For the men, if you're driving your car and you see this symbol on the dashboard and you don't know what it means, you're gonna check it
You will
out.
stop and check it,
Yeah.
when
So
that
just
light comes on.
so just look at it in similar ways like that. When in your relationship where you're seeing warning signs, in your as individuals, if you're seeing warning signs, do something about it.
Another thing, Raquel,
Do
that
something about it.
is in terms of stress and burnout, that is helpful. Things like marriage seminars and retreats, I find very helpful to set you back on track.
Yes, because
Right?
you now realize that okay,
Yes,
you're not alone in this thing.
and it doesn't mean that you have to attend every single one
No.
that is put on, because again, different marriage seminars and different retreats have different elements that might appeal to you, right? So you don't need to be a part of everything. But I strongly suggest that all couples, at least twice per year, should attend some marriage seminar or some couple seminar together. I
Exactly.
think it is very, very important to get a new insight, something that can help you. Because again, we don't know it all. Even it's interesting that even persons who have been married a long time, 40, 50 years, will tell you that every day they are learning.
True, definitely.
Every day they are learning something about each other, something about themselves,
And something about life.
something about life that
So
is, what you didn't know in the first year of marriage, through some kind of medium, whether it is a book, or even you talk about marriage seminars and those things. There are books also. There are many books out there that are very helpful,
online resources
on
as well.
many online resources that are there to help us to avoid this marital burnout that many of us suffer. And so we should make use of those things. I remember Raquel, and this was before we got married, when we used to attend that marriage seminar put on by Victoria Mutual
Oh yes.
every
Yes.
year. I mean, that was something that I look forward to go into. And when we used to have the marriage seminars at church,
Yeah.
and I think these things were very helpful in preparing us for marriage.
True.
And so and again, even with all of that information that we still had some of the same challenges in our relationship. We still had the same periods of burnout and all of that. And so it I think it's very, very important that we understand that in our relationship we need more resources than we think we have at the moment.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
I think stress and burnout, I don't necessarily have to burn out, but I think that it's something that will happen if you don't take
If
time
you don't take time
to
rest,
rest,
and
to
pause,
pause, to
and to
all of that.
rejuvenate.
Because again, life is life,
Yeah.
right?
And just it's
Life,
important.
yes,
It's important. It just if you look at, let's say you look at your shoes, then you have a pair of shoes, right? And you wear the shoes. Let's say you have two pairs of shoes, or let's say somebody has one pair of shoes. At least you have one pair of shoes. If you wear that shoe every day, right? You'll see after 6 months that the shoes are some of it has worn, right? Has been worn.
Start lean to one side,
The
and
leather and so on. So in the same way, as the hustle and bustle of life, and
yes,
your age takes over, stress takes over, um, and you pause now. You say, really, I need to clean the shoes, get a new one, or take it to a shoemaker,
yes,
or buy a new one. So
yes,
the process of taking it to a shoemaker is saying that I'm gonna now get some help from my shoe,
yes,
because the shoe has taken care of me and I've worn it. And so, in terms of our relationships, in terms of our growth as individuals first, because it's important to maintain your individuality in marriage.
mm-hmm.
But in terms of your individuality and in terms of the relationship, we see that how our relationship has grown because we have grown.
Mm-hmm.
Our relationship has more matured because we have matured, and also we realize that with stress and hustle and bustle of life, we have to find ways to cope. We have to find ways to rest.
Yes,
We have to find to rejuvenate and to, of course, keep the energy alive, keep the interest alive, because that's what life is all about: growth and maturity.
And we can't wrap up the program without saying this, Raquel. Don't feel guilty from unplugging from life, because many times we allow our stress and burnout to continue because we feel that if we unplug from life, we are doing a disservice to the people around us.
And it's just a temporary thing, just like you go.
It's not forever.
Just like you go on vacation.
Right?
Some persons don't want to go on vacation.
So if mommy come home and don't cook this evening, it's not because she just wants everybody to starve. Right? So don't take it personal.
No, she needs a break, and that's why
she just need a break.
And just like when you said, the husband and the children must learn to help themselves.
Exactly.
So that mommy can get a break. And even times when mommy is working, their time, like my nice example is, have a seat, honey. We'll get you some. I'll make some tea for you. It says that I'm interested in your growth and development. You're interested in mine, and of course, doing that will help the marriage and will definitely minimize the level of burnout and stress.
Exactly.
In the relationship.
So be willing to de-stress, because if we don't, Raquel,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to struggle eventually with emotional disconnect. We will have resentment and frustration. We're going to have a spillover of stress in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these things are good for your relationship. This is one thing that you always mention. Whenever I finish the house, that you want a room for yourself. And again, and I'm always talking about my office. I want an office that is soundproof, right? But again, as we grow in our relationships, we need to recognize the importance of self-care and importance of self-care, the importance of being able to unwind,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
And I find that this is another challenge that many of us have. We don't know how to enjoy life, which is why we suffer from stress and burnout.
Mhm.
We live in a space many times where we think that if we have looked at the other section segment tonight of stress and burnout and how it affects our relationships and how we can avoid stress and burnout. And the last thing we were talking about was that we need to learn how to unplug from life, learn how to de-stress, and just really learn how to enjoy life. Jesus said in John 10:10 that he has, I've come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly, which means that life is two-dimensional, spiritual and physical. And while we are looking forward to that heavenly kingdom, God expects that we learn how to enjoy our lives here on earth. Wherever you have tuned in from tonight, we are indeed happy to have had you, and we ask that you will continue to pray for us as we seek to grow this ministry called Leveling Up Your Marriage. As we look forward to 2025, we want to do some even bigger and better things, Raquel and myself, as we try to expand this ministry beyond the walls of the kingdom so that we can do our small part in helping to safeguard marriage and relationships, because we strongly believe that if we have more healthy marriages, then this world would be a better place, right? Wherever you have joined from tonight, this is Level Up Your Marriage with Paul and Raquel Blake. Wishing you a very good night. God bless.
Thank you for being here. See you soon.
They could never take the love